dusty pickup truck sits abandoned on a lonely Oklahoma mountain road. Inside, piles of cash, cell phones, family IDs, purse, and a tiny dog, barely alive after days without food or water. But there's no sign of the people who owned them. Bobby and Sherilyn Jamison and their 6-year-old daughter Madison had driven out to look at land for a fresh start. Instead, they vanished into thin air. The search that followed uncovered bizarre clues: a cryptic letter, unsettling home surveillance footage, and whispers of the occult. For years, no one knew if they had been murdered, if they had run away, or if something even stranger had happened. And when their bodies were finally found, deep in the woods years later, the truth became even more chilling. This is the haunting mystery of the Jamison family and the silent house they left behind. The morning of October 8, 2009, was cool and overcast in Eufaula, Oklahoma. Bobby and Sherilyn Jamison loaded their white pickup truck with essentials: water, snacks, some documents, while their 6-year-old daughter, Madison, clutched her favorite kitten-shaped purse. They were heading out to Red Oak, a small, remote area in the San Bois Mountains, to look at a plot of land they were considering buying for a fresh start. From the outside, it seemed like a normal family outing. But neighbors recalled strange expressions on their faces that morning: blank, almost mechanical. Bobby, usually chatty, didn't greet anyone. Sherilyn kept her gaze down, avoiding conversation. When they didn't return home that evening, nobody thought much of it. The Jamisons often took drives to explore rural Oklahoma. But 2 days later, hunters stumbled upon something that would turn this trip into a mystery that still chills people to this day. There, on a lonely dirt road, sat their pickup truck, doors unlocked, no damage, no sign of a struggle. Inside was chaos. Wallets, IDs, cell phones, Bobby's briefcase, Sherilyn's purse stuffed with cash, and Madison's beloved cat, still alive but severely dehydrated. It was as if the family had simply stepped out for a moment and vanished into thin air. No footprints, no tire marks leading away, just an abandoned vehicle in the middle of nowhere, holding secrets no one could yet understand. As police and volunteers swarmed the area, a single, disturbing question echoed among them: where were the Jamisons? When investigators began combing through the Jamisons' abandoned pickup, the scene felt less like a simple disappearance and more like a staged tableau. The items inside seemed to tell two very different stories: one of an ordinary family outing, and another of something darker, more urgent. First, there was the cash, over $32,000 of it, stuffed neatly in a bank envelope inside Sherilyn's purse. There was no reason for them to carry so much money for a day trip. It raised immediate questions. Was this a planned purchase for the land, or was it payment for something else? Then came the cell phones. Both Bobby's and Sherilyn's were found in the truck, switched off. This made little sense in the middle of a trip, especially for a couple reportedly in contact with family and friends. Most unsettling of all, a small brown briefcase belonging to Bobby sat on the back seat. Some friends later claimed Bobby never went anywhere without it, and inside it were legal papers tied to a lawsuit he had filed against his father. Even stranger was Madison's kitten purse, pink, worn, and cherished, lying on the floor. It was the kind of item a 6-year-old clings to no matter where she is. The fact that it was left behind felt like a silent scream. As police examined the truck, they found no signs of a struggle. No broken glass, no blood, no footprints leading away. But there was one living clue: the Jamisons' small dog, Maisie, who had survived days trapped inside the vehicle. Her presence suggested the family hadn't planned to be gone long. The investigators began to fear the worst. But as they dug deeper into the Jamisons' lives, they discovered things that made the case far more complex and much, much stranger than a simple missing persons investigation. 2 days after the truck was found, investigators got a break, one that only deepened the mystery. Bobby's cell phone contained hours of CCTV footage recorded by the security camera outside the Jamison home. It showed the family packing the truck for the trip, but something was wrong, very wrong. The video revealed Bobby and Sherilyn making dozens of silent trips back and forth between the house and the truck, loading items into it. They didn't speak. They didn't interact. Their movements were slow, stiff, almost trance-like. At times, they stood still, as if forgetting what they were doing. Sherilyn appeared in a white t-shirt and jeans, her hair pulled back, carrying boxes and a large brown briefcase. Bobby, dressed in dark clothes, sometimes stopped in mid-step, staring at nothing. The eerie silence. No chatting, no laughter, no signs of their daughter, haunted everyone who saw the footage. Some investigators suggested drugs or severe mental distress could explain the strange behavior. Others whispered about something darker, a cult influence, a spiritual presence. The Jamisons' friends claimed the couple had spoken about spirits in their house and even consulted a local pastor about it. Adding fuel to the fire, Sherilyn had been diagnosed with depression after losing her sister in a car accident. She'd written disturbing entries in her diary about feeling trapped and hopeless. Bobby, meanwhile, had told friends he believed their home was haunted. The footage didn't show Madison at all. No one knew if she was inside the house, waiting to join them, or already in the truck. But the absence of her cheerful presence in those final hours made the footage feel even more ominous. It was as if the Jamisons were walking into the unknown, carrying with them the weight of secrets no one else could see. As days turned into weeks, the investigation spiraled into a maze of conflicting leads and bizarre possibilities. What began as a straightforward missing persons case had now mutated into a puzzle laced with paranoia, superstition, and whispers of the supernatural. The first theory stemmed from the large sum of cash in the truck. Investigators considered the possibility of a drug deal gone wrong. The Eufaula Mountains, where the Jamisons were last seen, had a reputation for illegal activity. But friends of the family swore they weren't involved in anything criminal. Then came the talk of a family feud. Bobby had been embroiled in a bitter lawsuit against his father, accusing him of threatening violence. The case was still unsettled when they disappeared. Could the feud have escalated to something deadly? But the strangest theory came from the Jamisons' own words. In the months before their disappearance, they had told friends and even their local pastor that they believed their house was haunted. Bobby claimed to see spirits, while Sherilyn had reportedly purchased a spiritual warfare book and painted strange messages on the property. Adding to the mystery, a friend told investigators that Sherilyn had once asked where she could buy bullets for a gun, fearing dark forces were after them. To some, this sounded like paranoia, possibly brought on by mental health struggles. To others, it hinted at a family convinced they were being hunted by something beyond human. Then came the most unsettling detail. The mountains where the Jamisons vanished had their own dark reputation. Stories of strange lights, cult activity, and people going missing without explanation. Locals said the place had an energy that never felt right. It was a web of money, mistrust, and mystery, and every thread seemed to lead somewhere darker. For years past, for long years of unanswered questions, dead-end leads, and a family's growing grief. For the residents of Eufaula, the Jamisons' disappearance had become an unsettling ghost story, told in hushed tones whenever someone drove past that lonely stretch of mountain road. Then, in November 2013, a hunter exploring the dense woods less than 3 miles from where the truck had been found stumbled upon something he would never forget. Scattered among the leaves and tangled brush were skeletal remains, 3 sets, lying close together. Dental records confirmed the unthinkable. Bobby, Sherilyn, and little Madison had been found. But if this discovery was supposed to bring closure, it didn't. The state of the remains made it nearly impossible to determine a cause of death. There were no obvious signs of trauma, no evidence of gunshot wounds, no clear clue that could solve the case. Theories swirled again. Had they gotten lost and died from exposure? Was it a murder-suicide? Did someone lead them into the woods to die? Or was it, as some still whispered, a sign of something supernatural? Even more unsettling, investigators noted the eerie proximity of the remains to where their truck had been found. It meant that for years, search teams had unknowingly walked near their final resting place. With no definitive answers, the the Jamisons case remains an open wound, a chilling reminder that sometimes, even when the missing are found, the truth still stays hidden in the shadows. With the Jamisons' bodies laid to rest, the official investigation slowed to a crawl. No suspects were charged. No cause of death could be pinned down. What remained was a swirling storm of theories, each as haunting as the last. Some believed they had simply gotten lost during a walk in the mountains, their fate sealed by the unpredictable Oklahoma wilderness. Others were certain they had been lured into the woods and murdered, perhaps by someone they knew, someone who had watched them from the shadows. Then there were the whispers no one wanted to say out loud, that the Jamisons had walked willingly into the forest, seeking to escape something unseen. Whether it was spiritual torment, family tensions, or mental decline, no one could say for sure. The unanswered questions became part of the tragedy's legacy. Why did they leave so much money in the truck? Why was Madison's tiny dog left alive inside for days? Why were they found so close to where search teams had been? The mountains held their silence. Today, the Jamison case remains one of the most disturbing mysteries in American true crime history. It is a chilling reminder that some stories end without justice, without closure, and without answers. The only certainty is the eerie emptiness left behind, a silence that feels like it's still waiting to speak. For more cases like this, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Your support helps us uncover the stories that should never be forgotten.